What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 52. My name is Victor Vasquez. Thank you so much for coming in and listening to another episode where we're going to be covering a new film that I just got to see. On my last episode on the Marvels, I ended up saying at the end that I was going to talk about The Killer, which came out on Netflix. And that was the plan, but it ended up changing after I saw a film that I actually liked better and wanted to talk about more on this podcast. And that film is actually Godzilla Minus One. This is a new film in the series of Godzilla. The only difference here is that it's actually not kind of tied to the main kind of franchise that you maybe are more accustomed to, like Godzilla versus Kong. Again, that's made more by some of the companies here in the US domestically. This specific film, Godzilla Minus One, is actually based in Japan. It's actually made by a director that goes by the name of Takashi Yamazaki. And what he did was basically he ended up creating a kaiju film. He wrote it, he directed it, and he provided the visual effects for it. And wow, I'm super excited to kind of talk about that. So let's go ahead and let's just dive in to some of my kind of thoughts about it. Just before I went into go see this movie, I didn't really have a lot of expectations. Again, I had seen some of the previous Godzilla films. Nothing's ever been so crazy. Again, the one that's always stuck in my head is like I believe it's like 1999 or around the 2000 when Godzilla came out with Matthew Broderick, and and had all this stuff in New York, and that's kind of like my earliest recollection of really getting into Godzilla. I thought it was cool. Now that I see that movie, kind of obviously it doesn't hold up as well. There's been a lot of different iterations of Godzillas. I did not watch Godzilla versus Kong. It just looked way too ridiculous for me. It just went way over the top just by looking at the trailers. So, wasn't for me. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it just because of the fact that they've actually are going to make a second film, Godzilla and King Kong. So again, more power to them. I'm pretty sure they have a very big fan base that really wanted to see that film. It wasn't for me. But again, when I saw the trailers and the word of mouth about Godzilla Minus One, I thought, I have to check it out. I have to see what this film is all about because I'm hearing really great things. So again, no expectations. I came in with, the bar very low, knowing that, again, there's so many different iterations of Godzilla. How can they make it different? So again, nothing really that's kind of stood out in my mind. I didn't really have any questions. I was just hoping that the movie would be good and would hopefully have a very unique or different take on Godzilla. Now that I actually got the chance to watch it, let's go ahead and dive into some of my overall thoughts about the movie and my pros and cons and anything else that I really have after I got out of the movie theater and watched it. And I gotta say that this film, Godzilla Minus One, is actually, it's so good. I was really blown away. Again, my expectations were very low. I didn't really have a lot in regards to, like, hey, this is what I want to see, or here's kind of like the visuals of what I want to see of this monster, Godzilla. It was none of that. I just wanted a fresh take, and that was really about it. I didn't really care about the characters or the plot. Just make it very unique and different. And I really, really loved what Takashi Yamazaki, the director, was able to pull off here. This film, really, it's not even about Godzilla. It's more about the characters that are dealing with this monster, this kaiju that ends up coming up and starts wreaking havoc on Japan. So just a lot of great stuff. I was blown away, not only again by the great story that this had, but also blown away by the visuals. I believe the budget of this film was only $15 million. And again, $15 million is obviously a lot of money, but compared to some of these films like in Marvel or like DC films or even Oppenheimer, you have budgets of over $100 million. The director and the team that built and created this movie only needed $15 million, and they pulled off something spectacular because nothing looks bad. Nothing looks too much where it's like, I don't really believe this. It's just unbelievable. So a lot of great stuff about this movie. And I was shocked at how great this movie actually came out to be. Let's dive into some of my pros just to kind of call it out right there. First pro that I gotta have is how this film focused more on the characters rather than the monster in Godzilla. That was my favorite part. And again, it's something that you don't really get that much of, especially with some of the different iterations in Godzilla. In this film, it was all about the story of Koichi Shikishima. And I'm probably going to mispronounce a lot of these Japanese types of names. So again, apologies ahead of time. But again, the story revolves around this kind of pilot. He's a pilot, actually a kamikaze pilot in the Japan army. And again, it's Koichi Shikishima. He is basically the main protagonist of this film. You actually see him kind of come away, and you see him kind of getting his his ship repaired, and when you realize that, again, kamikaze pilots actually are meant to basically go through battle and not make it back. They basically are meant to bomb different places, and they're basically suicide bombers, for another word that you call it. And you basically see him, and you kind of see his life kind of go through, because he ran away from war. And what's cool about this film is that it actually takes place at the end of the World War II in 1945, and that's kind of where the film jumps off. And I really like that. They kind of tied it to, real world stuff. And again, what Koichi didn't want was basically, he felt it was pointless to go into and suicide and be a kamikaze pilot in a war that they knew they were never going to win. And so he ran away. He went and he said that there was technical problems with his ship or his plane, and he needed help with that. And that's kind of where the story just kind of leads off. Every interaction that he has up until that point is basically him being bombarded with, you're a disgrace. You should not be here. Your family was looking forward to you being a great part of this army, and all you do to pay them back is come back. Like you were supposed to die out there in battle. And again, for Koichi, he had to live with that. And that comes to my second pro, which is the way that the story and and how you see the arc of Koichi from beginning to end. At the beginning of the film, he's basically a ghost of himself, or not even a ghost, but like really a shell of himself. He continues to believe that he's the reason why that certain people died. He didn't want to take part in this war, and so he has this guilt. And it's unbelievable how he kind of goes through that all the way to the end of the film, where he now understands that, what, I have something to live for. I have something that I really want to fight for. And even to a point where he says, I don't know if he didn't really say that, but you could tell on his, like how he described it on his face and how he explained it to other characters in the film, that now he knows that what he has to die for, right? He has something to protect, and something that he wants to have a future for. So it was amazing. Again, the first pro, second pro, kind of very similar. Again, my first pro, really the story that revolves around these different characters. Not only is it Koichi that gets involved in this, he also ends up meeting Noriko, who is played by Minami Hamabi. Their relationship throughout the movie is awesome. They end up having kind of like a, this some type of tension that you kind of have with these romantic characters. I really enjoyed it. Then you also have Koichi, who ends up meeting other friends as he goes along in his new life after coming back from the World War II. He ends up meeting Kenji, who's like the scientist or the professor that knows all these answers. He ends up meeting a younger kid that always wanted to be in war named Shiro. And then he ends up meeting the boat or the captain of a specific ship, Susaku. And so you see these kind of relationships build, and it just makes the story that much more enjoyable. And it actually allows the audience to invest and know, hey, it's not just this one protagonist that's going to fight against, Godzilla, right? No, he has this one girl that, does he love her? Does he not love her? He has these friends that care about him, but does he care about those friends? It's just all this different stuff. And again, the third pro that kind of leads me into this film is the fact that the antagonist is not a human, it's Godzilla. That's, I think, what I appreciated the most, is that this film did not have to make Godzilla the hero. And that's kind of what a lot of the other films that have come out about Godzilla have become. Hey, like this guy is, this monster is so famous, let's actually make him the hero. Let's make him save the day. And I'm like, no, like, what would happen in real life? If a monster would show up of his size, what would the people react to in regards to seeing a monster like that? We'd freak out. We'd immediately think this thing is going to destroy us. And then this thing is kind of trying to destroy our land. That's exactly what they portrayed him as in this film. Godzilla is the villain. He is the what's causing destruction. He is destroying cities in Japan. He is not a hero, and there's no kind of redeemable aspect to him. And so that was just, again, a great choice by the director and the team that wrote this film. It was just, again, a great plan. And again, it's just something that's a little bit unique, right? Something different. All this time, we've always had him be the hero. He faces off against King Kong, all this different stuff. No, let's have him be the villain. He is a monster. He is something that is basically bound here on this earth to destroy. And so, really love that aspect of this film as well. Fourth pro that I will have about this film is the visual effects. Again, considering that the budget of this movie was only 15 million, the way that they were able to pull off some of these visuals, Godzilla looked so realistic. It was incredible. Whenever he was in the water, whenever he was in the city, any type of aspect or any kind of visual effect, even when he was like in the night, every effect looked very realistic to me. Again, I'm not a pro in visual effects or CGI, but I feel like how they pulled it off is just perfect. They didn't show him for too long, but the moments they would show him, he looked crystal clear. You could see the scales on his body. You could see the eyes and how scary and how menacing they looked. So really great stuff. I'm just blown away by this film. Those, I think, are the biggest cons that I have. It's Koichi's story arc throughout the film. The way that the story again revolves around not only him but other characters overall as well. Godzilla actually being the antagonist. He's the villain. He's the one that we're trying to get rid of because he's causing so much destruction in this world. And again, just a lot of different types of visual cues. Not only the visual effects of this film were great, but a lot of different cues in regards to the arc of Koichi as well. There's different scenes where, again, it kind of calls back to how he was in the beginning of the film. It's just amazing stuff. This story just was incredible, and I really loved it. As for cons, I really don't have that many. There's certain aspects where they probably could have explained a little bit more about how Godzilla mutated into what he was. Because at the beginning of the film, he actually is a lot smaller. He's maybe the size of like a specific, maybe let's say like a giraffe or a little bit taller, still very, very big in regards to that size. But he just started off like a dinosaur, let's say. By the end of the film, he is as tall as skyscrapers and he's causing a lot of disruption. And I kind of wish that they would have highlighted or shown a little bit more about how he was mutated. I get that they kind of showed maybe like an image of, humans testing different types of atomic bombs out in the ocean, and that's kind of what caused it. But it was so quick that I kind of wish they would have shown that a little bit more. Other than that, I really don't have any kind of bad things to say about this movie. I just probably, it's in the top 10 for sure of my movies of 2023. I thought it was just such a great experience. And again, my expectations were so low. I was just hoping that it was good, and it was way beyond good. I thought it was a great movie. The story, I think, is what's so compelling to me. Again, following Koichi's kind of arc all the way through is beautiful like that. There's even moments where it kind of could make you teary-eyed, just depending on what you're looking for. His relationship with Noriko, or his relationship with his friends, or what he ends up trying to do to sacrifice to have other people have a better future. Just a lot of great stuff. I highly recommend, if you have the chance, definitely go check it out in theaters. It is a great experience just because of the fact that the sound design is also really good when Godzilla is kind of stomping around the city. His blast sounds incredible. So definitely, if you have a chance, check it out on the big screen. It is a great time. I highly recommend this movie, and definitely want you guys to enjoy it as much as I did. Again, maybe you didn't. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought after you saw it in theaters as well. All right, everybody. Now I'm going to move on to my second segment, which is going to be my favorite performance in the movie. Easy one for me on this one. I actually really enjoyed Koichi's character throughout the entire film. Koichi is actually played by Kamiki Ryosuke. He did an awesome job going through, again, at the beginning of the film. He's a kamikaze pilot. He basically goes through, and as he goes through his story within the Godzilla Minus One film, again, he ends up having this kind of guilt and regret that, why did I run away? Why did I fear this? Why is everybody okay with just going into war and dying, and I'm opposed to it because I don't like this idea, right? Then he ends up having PTSD because he remembers of an incident when he first met Godzilla. And what's so cool is that throughout the film, in this specific arc that Kyoichi goes on, he actually ends up encountering Godzilla 3 different times. And again, each specific time, you could see the fear that he has up until the last one in the third act, where he knows what his plan is. He knows what he has to do as a pilot in order to take down Godzilla. And so just seeing Koichi evolve from beginning to end of this film is incredible. And that, again, that goes to the actor, Kamiki Ryusuke. He just did an incredible job to, again, highlight how scary it is to have PTSD after World War II. How you can feel this type of guilt or regret that loved ones counted on you for doing your job and you couldn't do it. Or other people just slamming it in your face saying, you're a disgrace. You shouldn't be alive. Basically, that's what they were telling him. You shouldn't be alive. You should have been the one out on the battlefield and doing what you should have done for our country. And it's crazy how he just kind of flipped and he just became so respected by his friends like Kenji or Shiro or Sosaku. It's just so crazy to see how, again, his performance just evolve as you go along the story. And by the end of it, again, you're just rooting for him all the way through. Credit to the director and the team for making a character that immediately from the beginning, as soon as you see him kind of be told that he's a disgrace, that he's nothing, he shouldn't be alive, you immediately connect with him. Like, you're like, no, wait, come on, man. No human should be going through that much pain. So a lot of great stuff. Great job to Kamiki Ryusuke. He did an awesome job as Koichi in Godzilla -1, and he is my favorite performance of the film. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to my favorite scene. This actually, again, goes back to Koichi. No surprise. Again, he was my favorite performance in the film. His story arc is incredible, and he actually has my favorite scene. It's actually one where he's interacting with Noriko, the female protagonist that is with him, helping him, and they kind of have this on again, off again type of relationship where it seems like he wants to fall in love with her, but he can't. And there's one specific scene where it just exposes everything that he has about him. Like, he resisted telling Noriko throughout his life what was going on in his mind, what was going on, why was he having nightmares, why was he having trouble, until finally one day it just erupts and he tells her the truth. He tells her again what he was, a kamikaze pilot, what he ended up doing, basically fleeing and not wanting to basically sacrifice himself, and what he basically thinks about every single night, which is because of what his actions, he ended up going onto an island and he got a lot of people killed in the first interaction with Godzilla. He had the opportunity to shoot up and kill Godzilla in a specific, or at least we think we could kill him, and he got scared. And now he's got to live with basically so many lives that are on his hands because of his actions. And he just ends up breaking down. He ends up kind of kneeling into a ball, and he just can't believe that what he's alive for. He's still kind of questioning, well, why are these ghosts still haunting me? Why am I the one that's alive? If I was the one that was scared, why didn't I just die? Like, what, all this different stuff. And you just see just raw emotion from Koichi. And again, it's just all directed to Noriko, just letting her know what he's been basically penting up inside. And it was just such an emotional moment. And again, it just exposed what he had been dealing with over the last couple of years. He tried his best to keep it all in, but he knew that, again, no matter what he did, he would not be able to repent and really go through all those different types of regrets that he's been dealing with since he fled from World War II. And so I thought that scene was so damn deep. And again, it made you even connect with him more, because you're like, now there's got to be some type of redemption, right? There's got to be a way for him to come out on top in some type of way. And so, great stuff, great scene, a lot of different stuff. I'm actually surprised I didn't choose an action scene, but again, Godzilla's the villain. That was his own kind of area on it. I thought, again, the story was the most important part. The arc of Koichi was incredible, and that actually ends up being my favorite scene as well. All right, everybody. Now we have gotten to the last segment of the Timeless Movie Podcast, and here we're going to decide whether Godzilla -1 is a timeless movie. You've heard me talk about all this positive stuff, all this great stuff in regards to the story arc, the visuals, the way that the relationship revolves around Koichi and all of his friends and family. But do I, at the end of the day, consider Godzilla -1 a timeless movie? I honestly can say, as of this moment and after watching it, Yes, it is a timeless movie for me. This is definitely, if I were to have to choose and watch any of the Godzilla movies or any of these kind of films that revolve around monsters or these types of giant creatures, this is probably going to be the one that I'm going to decide to watch. And what's crazy is that, again, it's not about Godzilla. He is not the main focus here. He's the villain of this movie, and he doesn't even come out a lot. And again, probably forgot to say this in my pros as well, but that was another thing that I loved is that Godzilla only came out 3 or 4 times. Now, when he did come out, he would have a lot of screen time, right? But he was again not the focus of the movie. The movie was about the story of Koichi and how he was basically able to get redemption. How he was able to, at the beginning of the film, he was scared. He didn't want to participate in anything. At the end of the film, he knew exactly what he had to do in order to take down and kill Godzilla. And so it's just, again, that just blew me away. Probably one of the best stories that I've seen this year in movies. And like I mentioned, this is going to be definitely in my top 10 of 2023. It was an incredible movie. It just came out of nowhere, not even on my radar. I didn't even know that they were making a Godzilla movie that was, again, not domestically made. And they just knocked it out of the park. And so for me, again, in my personal opinion, this film is timeless. It's got so many great qualities. It's got so many great little moments. And even though it was spoken in Japanese and it had English subtitles, there were still things that made me laugh. That there's still jokes that still, again, the facial reactions was awesome. And it just goes to show you again that us as especially audience in America, we don't always have to watch films that are spoken in English. Maybe some of the best films that we have never seen are from other countries as well. So again, this is definitely going to push me in that direction to kind of watch more movies with subtitles, more movies from other countries. Again, just to kind of explore these different types of stories and different takes on different elements around the world as well. Now, guys, I really want to know your guys' opinion. What did you think of Godzilla Minus One? Did you end up liking it as much as I did? If so, please put those comments down below in this video. Really want to hear your thoughts. Is it timeless for you? Do you still prefer other films like Godzilla vs. King Kong? Definitely want to know your thoughts, guys, so definitely put those down in the comments. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 52 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to listen next week as we cover a new film that we watch in theaters, and we'll review it and we'll determine if it is timeless. All right, guys, thanks so much and have a great rest of your week.